Gaming is for friends.
I thought this music was so epic.
We all like talking about gaming.
The only thing that I disliked about the old game.
There are so many different conversations started by gaming.
Oh, I forgot. I have you.
This could be anything.
Okay, walk in that green goo. Oh, that's a no.
Anything Gaming Podcast. Hi, welcome to Anything Gaming, episode 24. We're getting through some episodes now. How are you, Woody? How's your week been?
It was great. I spent time a couple days ago watching the eclipse that went over New England and other parts of the United States. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, we didn't get that on our side of the world, so...
Yeah, I would say it lasted for about, the actual darkness, well, it doesn't get, pitch black, but, the actual dimming happened, I would say, and all that, I would say it lasted around, 20 minutes-ish. You know, with the peak being, actually, during the peak of it, put sunglasses on and look around during a really bright day, and that's what it looked like, except without the sunglasses.
Okay.
I was mentioning to my friends as I was texting, I'm broad daylight, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, no clouds, sun right behind me, and I could see my phone on low brightness settings.
So you're saying we should bring more eclipses to the world so we can see our phones better?
Hey. Sometimes the most practical solutions are the best solutions.
Yeah, that's true. We are getting colder over here, so you must be getting hotter because...
I want to say it's a brisk 58 degrees out right now, but it is raining.
Yeah, we got rain too, but I've got a jumper on today because I'm cold. So
yeah, now it's gonna happen. In fact, I should warn you now. In a couple months, when we're doing this, you might hear an air conditioner. Depending on how hot it is. I know we do it at my nighttime, but the nights here do get a little sweltering sometimes.
Yeah, no, that's all good. It's all good. Games this week. Have you played anything new this week?
I'm still trying to wrap up Dino Trauma. I'm at the last boss, and I'm not gonna lie, it's not going especially well. You gotta fight this Tyrannosaurus Rex, and he's super easy and all that, but once you get his health down to 30%, he just gets much more fast and aggressive. You know, it just, oh man, I'm gonna try to get through it, but yeah, once I'm done with that, I'm actually moving on to a game I picked up a couple months ago. I really haven't played it too much, except just to make sure, it could play. It's called Dusk.
Yeah.
I want to say it's one of those games that it's an indie game, but it's also it's supposed to play like a late 90s boomer shooter. Mm-hmm. There's a big Quake, especially Quake 2 feel to it. Yeah. So, but I like it so far. So that's probably my next conquest. And actually, wanted to ask you this I put up a poll on my YouTube channel asking, I want to try to start to clear off some of my backlog. Mm-hmm. And I put up 5 games that I want to try to beat.
Okay.
God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Jedi Fallen Order, Pikmin 3 Deluxe, and Tunic. And right now in the poll, Pikmin 3 is winning. So it looks like I might be playing that soon.
I do like that game. That's a good game. Pikmin 4 is better. But I would say Horizon Forbidden West was fantastic. You definitely
really?
Yeah. If you liked did you like the first one?
I love the first one, but the first one has one big problem. It's got a problem with it has one of the best stories that I've ever played in a video game, but it's one of those stories that once you play that story, and get that story, the luster's completely gone.
Yeah, I don't feel like the second one's the story in the second one's not quite as good as the first one. But at the same time, I feel like I would be more inclined to play the second one again because the story's not like a big, hey, this is what happened to the world.
Well, that's the thing, because throughout the first game, it's all who's my mother? Why is this? Why is that? And you don't know. And at the end of the game, got to give the game credit. You do find out all these reasons why it's. But once you know, to play through that game again and having everyone not know the answers to something that you do. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the second one doesn't have that problem. Plus, the second one involves you've got what are the flying dinosaurs? You can ride them, and so you can get like flying around the map. There's so much better things in the second one. I feel like it was a little bit like Zelda. It's Bot W and Tears of the Kingdom. How Tears of the Kingdom is such a better game than the first one, but they're very similar games. I feel like that's Between the Horizons is similar to that, but definitely you could start on Forbidden West and just love that game. It's a way more fun kind of story. Definitely do that. So
Yeah, okay, well, hey, vote now. And anyone else who's watching this, feel free to go on my channel and vote.
yeah, definitely vote. I I haven't played anything. Yeah, well, I have played
Really?
some games this week. No, I did play some games. I did a small lie there. Little Gator, that's on Steam.
Where is that somewhere? Is that on?
No,
Is that new?
Xbox Game Pass. It's on. It's been out for about a year or so now. Just came to Game Pass, so I thought I'd.
Maybe that's where I heard it. Maybe it just popped up on my thing. But yeah, I heard of that. Is it good?
Did you ever like Zelda, the Wind Waker?
Yes. Yes, it did.
It's a very Wind Waker vibe. It's not quite as. It's a bit more like, here's a go and look for this, go and get this, do that. So it's not kind of as engaging as Wind Waker, but aesthetically, it's so Wind Waker. It's not funny. And it's pretty relaxing. It's a nice game. You kind of finish a day and you go, oh, I'll just pop on a little bit of that. That's okay. I also started Diablo 4. I think I started playing through. Yeah, I started playing through that.
The only Diablo I've already played a lot of was 3.
Yeah, well, I've never played a Diablo, so I thought I might give it a try, and it's a lot better than I expected it to be. I don't know what I expected from it, but I didn't. I don't know. I'm enjoying it more than I thought I would.
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, so I might try a bit more of that. I still haven't finished Dead Space, but there was bad news in the week.
I just heard that too. I mean, on one hand, it sucks, but on the other hand, for the uninitiated, yeah, Dead Space 2 remake is not happening. But at the same time, Dead Space 2 originals still exist, and I think anyone who's played the Dead Space remake should go back and play that. It's good. I think Dead Space 2 it's not as scary as Dead Space 1, but it plays a lot better than Dead Space 1.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised, to be honest, because when I've been playing Dead Space 1 at the moment, and I think it's a solid game, but it's a very 90s feeling game. It doesn't really, where the Resident Evil games, when you bring them forward to the future now, they kind of suit the now gamers, where I don't feel like the Dead Space suits us as much, like the gamers these days as much.
It's DLC.
Yeah, it's just a bit. I don't know. It's just the gameplay. The kind of it just feels very 90s, early 2000s type thing, and I don't mind it. I'm not against it, but I can just see like a lot of kids in that not going, oh, this is fantastic. I
guess. I mean, even though Dead Space remake, according to reports, was like the best-selling Dead Space, it still didn't sell enough for EA. Mind you, this is EA, so if you better be making money for EA. I guess at the end of the day, it just didn't move enough units. So
yeah,
no one was into it. So it's a shame.
They're probably thinking they're going to get Resident Evil 4 kind of accolades from it, and they just didn't go quite as big as Resident Evil 4. So I don't know.
Ironically, that could have been a problem back in the day too. Although there was like a good 2 years between original Resident Evil and Dead Space. I think it was like 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a bad thing. Let's move on to the biggest news. Well, a thing that I like to see you squirm about is when they shut down an online store and all these DLCs and all these things that old games had go missing forever. And I thought we'd reminisce with a bit of the Nintendo kind of world of Wii U and the 3DS as well.
Well, the thing is, like, in hindsight, and not even in hindsight, then, you know, and I love the Wii U. I still got it to this day. You know, it's not hooked up, but I got my Wii U. I got a damn good collection of games, physically and digitally, for the Wii U. But the Wii U was never going to, like, really leave that much of an impression. And even though the Virtual Console for the Wii U was still strong, although I gotta say, not as strong as the Wii's Virtual Console, there were still a lot of cool things. Like, one thing I did like about the Wii U eShop was that you could download DS games, which could work because, you know, your TV acts as the top screen of the DS and the gamepad acts as the bottom screen of the DS. It worked perfectly. I like that. But outside of that, though, it's like, I think I'm going to miss the 3DS shop and online services more than the Wii U's shop and online services. I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be on that boat. I think the 3DS losing that stuff is more significant than the Wii U's.
Yeah, I guess that's true, but I think that looking about it, and I think about it, I think we have got they've got a Nintendo store, they've got a PlayStation store, and they've always had it. I don't understand why these things close. Why don't they just migrate it to there and put everything together and then just keep it? Like, Xbox seems to be doing a better job than PlayStation and Nintendo at migrating things from one console. They just migrate it to the store. I mean, I can go and play 360 games. I can go and buy 360 games on Microsoft Store. Why can't Nintendo and PlayStation do that as much? They seem to just like, it's had 10 years. Let's just chuck it out now.
It definitely seems like Microsoft has better hindsight in that general thing. Like, I'm pretty sure when even the 360 came out, I'm sure Microsoft said to themselves, okay, this ain't gonna last. We're going to have another console someday. So while this is our new stuff, while this is what we're working with, let's look in the future and let's just make sure that what we got here can fit over there when the time comes. Which is why you see a lot of that support. It seems like Sony and Nintendo don't do that at all. You know, like, they're just focused on that right then, and then once they move up to the next step, then it's like, okay, now let's go back and see what we can bring over, if anything at all. Yeah, which to me seems like a lot harder to do. Now, of course, I'm sure back in the 90s,
does the Nintendo know they have the best fans in the country or in the world that can just go, hey, well, let's just go and sell it again, and we'll see how many more copies we can sell, and we'll abuse our loyal followers, and that's how it'll be.
This is kind of a hard word there, Ant.
I'm such a negative Nelly sometimes.
I kid. But no, like, you know, once again, it must be said, like, I'm not looking at DLC, because we'll talk about that in a sec. Right now, I'm just focused on the games. Let's just say Super Mario Brothers 1, for example. All right, so, you know, if you want to play it on anything between Super Nintendo and GameCube, too bad. Well, Super Nintendo, you could play All-Stars, but that's pretty much it. And then when the Wii came out, Virtual Console came out. And I gotta say this, growing up, I always sold all my games when the next stuff came out. Like, that's for a couple reasons. One, I was poor, so if I wanted to afford the new stuff, I needed money, so I had to get rid of the old stuff to get the new stuff. And two, I was just the kind of person that when the new generation came out, I mean, I was a graphics whore, hard. Like, once I saw that, I was like, I don't want anything to do with what I did back in the day. And it wasn't until the Virtual Console came out back in 2006 where I started really to look at these games that I had maybe. Some I kept, you know, I kept up with Mario, I kept up with Mega Man, I kept up with Sonic, those ones. But other games, Blaster Master for NES, for example, I didn't touch that at all until it came back out on the Virtual Console, and once it did, I was like, wow, this game's even better than what I remember when I was a kid. And then after that, it's like, okay, well, some games aren't coming out. I might as well spend my time trying to buy back all the games from my childhood. So that I got to give the Virtual Console credit on that for jump-started that with me. And now when the Wii U's Virtual Console came out, it was really just more of the same. It's just that they had, you know, now there was Wii games on the Virtual Console. I don't remember ever seeing a lot of GameCube games, remastered GameCube games, but nothing particularly GameCube on the Wii U. But they still had the N64, they still had Super Nintendo, they still had the NES. I think they had Game Boy Advance, and honestly, it was just nothing really changed from the Virtual Console after that. It was pretty much the same thing. Of course, then when the Switch came out, it was hard stop, and now we got the online service, which more or less acts like Netflix, if you will, for these old games, which is nice. I'm not gonna lie, it is nice having this huge collection of games because of that, I've tried a lot of games that I never would have played. I never would have played Journey into Silius. I've seen it before. I see it when I go to Retro, but nothing ever compelled me to play that game. But once it was there, I was like, yeah, sure, okay, I'll give it a go.
Yeah,
so
I think that's true, and I think that a lot of these but I think this is. So before you could go and buy these games on the virtual console, like I'm assuming you pay like $5 an old game, and then you've got it.
5 for NES, 8 for Super Nintendo Genesis, 10 for something like that. Yeah.
And then Nintendo's go, well, we can't just make infinite money like that, because once you own it, if we just roll that onto the next store, you're not going to have that. So how about what we do is we go and slowly phase that out and slowly bring this this service in that you're addicted to. You're gonna pay your like $70 a year or whatever you pay, because why wouldn't you, to have all these back catalog of games? And that's just those old games that were on your old devices. Well, those devices are pretty much dead now, so the new generation of gamers are just getting hooked on this subscription model. Everyone wants a subscription model now, so they just work towards a subscription model.
Also, let's not forget about emulation still existing. And we're talking the old games that are I don't think I would ever mess around with anything emulating PS1 or N64 older, because it never works right. Every time when I try an N64 emulator, it never plays as good as the N64 games on the Switch or the Wii or the Wii U, and it absolutely never plays as good as the actual console. But if you're looking just to play, Street Fighter 2010, yeah, you might as well just emulate it, and there you go. There's not going to be any latency problem at all. So I'm sure Nintendo probably looked at the emulators and were like, we're going to have to do something different than just sell the games. Although I remember hearing a statistic, and it was a good statistic. Mario 3 for the Virtual Console and the Wii moved a million copies were downloaded.
Really?
Just for Mario 3. I mean, one, it shows you just how damn good Mario 3 is still considered, I'm sure even to this day. But people were buying these games on the Virtual Console, so naturally Nintendo's like, hey, subscription services get even more money.
See, I'm worried. I guess I'm slightly worried where we go to. So they've got a Game Boy Advanced and the N64 now on your subscription there, and they charge that. So that's tier 2 on the subscription. It's only a matter of time before we get tier 3, which is I assume that's coming when we get to Switch 2, where tier 3 is going to have your GameCube and your probably like your Game Boy 3DS and stuff like that. They're going to probably be in tier 3, I reckon, in the Switch 2. And that's what they're going to probably take on. I just see that's going to be a thing that they're going to do. And the thing that I am annoyed about in these tiers that they do is I really don't want the oldest of the games, which are in the tier 1 category. I just want the tier 2, or if there is a tier 3, I'd just get the tier 3. I would just like the newest of the old games, if you know what I mean. I don't want the oldest of the old games, but you kind of have to buy the tiers from 1 through up. You can't just buy tier 2 games, and I find that slightly annoying how they do that.
Well, I mean, the tiers ain't anything new. I remember back in 360, it wasn't it 360 days when they had Xbox Live Silver and Xbox Live Gold? Was it called Silver? Something like that. I remember, like
Ultimate and Gold.
Oh yeah, there was, and of course PlayStation, especially now. Jesus,
Yeah.
there's like 6 different types of PlayStation Plus now. I don't even know where to start.
But
PlayStation's very confusing about their rewards.
PlayStation's, I don't mind the PlayStation system because if I like the old games, I can get like the biggest tier, and that will include all the older games. But if I want the newer of the games, then I get them in the extras bundle. Or if I just want to play online, I get the plus bundle.
But I mean, at the same time, I mean, the oldest PlayStation games are still mid-90s.
Yeah.
You know, like the oldest PlayStation games still have 3D, still got polygons, still got CD quality music, still got cutscenes, and like we're talking the oldest PlayStation games you can play, which are Twisted Metal.
Yeah.
You know, whereas the oldest NES games, I mean, they're NES games. They're 56 colors. You know, they're great games, but you know, they definitely don't have the same visual spark as, you know, even the PlayStation 1 games that are available for PS Plus. Yeah. And that's definitely something that I think Microsoft too kind of, they actually lucked out more, because the oldest Microsoft games are like, you know, Knights of the Republic and Jade Empire and Time Splitters and stuff. Still like great games. You know, Call of Duty was on the original Xbox.
Do you think Microsoft listens to gamers more, or do you think Microsoft is just trying to make more money with these older games?
I think Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo listen quite carefully and a lot to gamers. Whether they give a shit or not is another question. They do listen to them. You know, they don't not listen. They might not care. In fact, a lot of times they blatantly don't care. But I believe they listen. They know what they want. You know, so, and from there they'll make their decision on whether or not to give us, you know, a sliver of what we want, or just what they think we need.
Yeah. Or
I will say that definitely when it comes to how Microsoft seems the most consumer friendly.
Yeah.
At least to me, as far as like deals, things. Although it should be noted right now, Steam blows all 3 of them out of the water, and it's not even close.
I wanted to talk about, actually, can we just change tack for a minute? We'll come back to Nintendo in a minute. Yeah. But I've been meaning to bring this up for several weeks now. Okay, so if you got a PlayStation, I'll use them as an example because they do it really badly. Every month they have games on sale, and they have a game, you know, the game's on sale. Every month they have the same games on sale for the same amount of money off those games. Like, does it shit you off? Like, am I the only one that gets shitted off that there's the same games on sale for the same price? Every time I look in there, it's not like there's added something new in that I go, oh shit, that's off 90% this week. Like, why are they always, it might be every second month that they alternate between this set of games and them set of games, but it's basically the same catalog all the time. Does this bother you? Steam seems to be a little bit more different.
Yes, it doesn't bother me. Because it's actually, honestly, you could flip it and say it's a good thing, because maybe you're on the fence, maybe you don't got the cash for it at the amount of time, but knowing that game will still be on sale later, I can see that being a plus. All I can equate that to is this. I'm not going to talk too much about my actual job, but when we got sales on, like, you know, food specials, if you will, that say, you know, pizzas on, like, we'll even advertise it, True Topping Pizza on special. You know, and it'll be a big advertise. It's on special. It's not on sale. The price has not changed at all. We're just advertising it. You know, and we'll keep it on special for weeks on end. Nothing will change.
So you're suggesting that the games are on sale is the price they want to sell them for?
Pretty much. If it's staying on there for so long, yeah, that they'll be like, all right, this is the new price. They're not going to call it the new price. They're not going to say, okay, they're not slashing the price. They're not like, okay, it's just going to be this price from now on, and that's it. No. They're still going to try to sell the hell out of it. And by doing that, they make it on sale every week, even though technically there is no sale.
Yeah, it just annoys me because I every time I go in there, I'm like, oh, please be something interesting on sale. No,
Something new,
nothing new,
something, you know.
nothing that grabs me, nothing that I want to buy, nothing interesting at all. It's the same stuff as last week, and
And when it
not
comes to
most of the time,
sales,
yeah, it's
like
just
it's almost at this point comical how bad Nintendo is
mm,
at sales. Like to this day, right now, Breath of the Wild, it's still full price. It's got to be. I don't
yeah.
even really look at it. It's still guaranteed. Even with Tears of the Kingdom out, it's still full price.
I think Black Friday they do give you 10% off Breath of the Wild.
Holy shit!
I know.
Holy shit.
So that's a
God
hot
damn.
tip for anyone looking for Breath of the Wild 20 years later. Wait till
Right,
Black
yeah.
Friday and you'll get it.
Honestly, you more or less have to wait for a Nintendo game to go on their subscription service
Yeah.
before you get anything less than the full price they want you to get it. If they came out with a cartridge of Super Mario Brothers 3 right now, I'm sure it'd be full price. It'd be the same price as it was back in '90.
100% it would be. They're terrible.
That's for inflation, of course.
Well, if the Nintendo Switch games play on the next Nintendo, let's call it Nintendo Switch 2, they're still going to sell them at full price. They're not going to drop the price down. And in matter of fact, they'll re-release the games and add another $10 to the price and call them the it'd be like Super Mario Brothers Wii Deluxe
Legendary Edition.
Yeah, Wii
You know?
Deluxe Switch to something or other special edition.
Yeah, just add in a Triforce keychain.
Yeah.
I've already reserved my copy.
Yeah. They just abuse Nintendo people. It's so bad sometimes the way they do that. But yeah. Oh, I need to get off my chest that I'm sick of the same sales, someone put something good on sale. I want to buy a game, but not for full price.
Is this PlayStation we're still talking about here?
Mostly PlayStation. I think Xbox doesn't do sales very good at all, but they do really good at Game Pass. So the You know what I love about Steam? My favorite thing is you buy a game. So say you buy I don't know, Talos Principles #1, and then it goes on sale. So you've got that game in your library, and then there's a bundle with that game and the second game, and both the games go on sale, or that bundle goes on sale. You can then buy the bundle without take off the percentage of the game you own. Yeah. So if a DLC bundle comes out with that game, you can buy the DLC at the discounted price in the bundle. Yeah. It's just really, really well done.
Didn't know that.
Well, now you've got no money.
Yeah. I'm actually burning on $12 on my Steam wallet right now. Just nothing's grabbed me. And I got other stuff too. I think I mentioned this. I did buy a car recently, so as far as the new games go, I'm really not buying a whole bunch of new games. But the good news is I got a backlog of games. Some still in the wrapping, so I don't need to worry about that.
Oh, it's so easy to buy games. I've been looking at games. I've got to go and play a whole heap of games. Actually, this month because I got a panel next week. Well, actually this week. So I got a panel with other games there, and I don't want to go into it and go, "Oh, your game's really good," and I don't know anything about it. So I've got to catch up on.
You want to go in informed.
Yes, yeah, you got to. Yes. I like how this happens in your game. I like how that happens in your game. Whatever, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'll work on that this week. Oh, big news before we go back to Nintendo. EA is putting the price of their subscription service up. I don't know anyone that subscribes to it. Do you know anyone that
Is it springtime already? Is it springtime?
Do you know anyone that subscribes to EA? That was probably the thing that shocked me. That someone.
I think I signed up for Origin just so I could play something of theirs.
No, but they've got a subscription service too. It's like a EA Game Pass.
They play, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I never gave them a dime for that.
No, who does anyone?
Because I know EA's got a subscription service, Ubisoft's got a subscription service.
See,
I'm sure Activision's got to have a couple.
Well, I'm worried about this because I think that the EA subscription service is part of the Xbox Game Pass, so that may hinder how much our Game Pass is.
They might be taking some of that stuff off Game Pass.
Well, that could be it too. Maybe that might be a thing.
Titanfall 2 is on there. Every Dead Space game's on there.
Mm-hmm.
Some good stuff on there.
And you haven't been paying all that money that they need to keep EA open. Think of the poor executives' children that are not eating at night because you're not buying EA games.
I got someone mad. That just reminds me. I got someone mad at me because I was on an online thing. We were talking about Suicide Squad. No, we weren't talking about Suicide Squad. We were talking about Dragon's Dogma 2.
Yeah.
And I mentioned how it's bullshit, how you have to pay for simple things like fast travel and all that. And someone just read me the riot act on how no, as a developer, you're a game developer.
Yeah.
And you got kids that need to eat, that need to sleep, that need to go to the doctors on occasion, you know what I mean? That stuff costs money. You need to make money. Yeah. You know, so you're gonna work your ass off for this game. Totally understand that. It's still shitty to charge for basic functions that have been around forever. You know what I mean? That's what I was trying to say. Hey, I'm not saying that they need to get their money. But he even said this. If you put out a AAA game that was just no bullshit, no this, no that, it'll probably sell better.
I don't know if it would, because people almost want the DLC. So the super fans almost want the DLC so they can play. They
don't want the DLC. They're just used to DLC.
Yeah, if I release a really good game,
I'm young enough that I don't expect a new video game with a console when I buy it. But, and this is going to blow people's minds who's watching, back in the day, before the PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64, that old, when you bought a new game system, you got at least one video game with it.
You are being misinformed, mate.
Yeah.
What about the PlayStation 5? How it came with that Playroom? What was that game that was free on it? That was.
Let me refresh this. When you open the box, you would go in with your hand. That feels, physical stuff made of matter.
Yeah.
and you would feel a game, and you'd pull it out, and there'd be a game in your hand, in existence. It wouldn't be a code.
What about?
Of course, nowadays every game has codes. I got Jedi Fallen Order on my Xbox because I got a little slip that gave me a 25-digit thing that told me, "Hey, do this and you'll download it and you got a game," which is great. But you didn't get anything.
But well, I would argue again. What about back in the day when the Master System released and on the actual console was?
Oh, Panzer. No, not Panzer. What's it called?
Alex Kidd.
It was like a snake game.
No,
you press the button and
Alex Kidd was on there. It was pre-installed on the Master System.
I'm American, all right? We didn't have Master System too much. I mean, I got one later on in life, but no, we got the NES, which came with one. Actually, even better, it came with one game, but that one game actually had two games on it: Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm just saying that I think that games don't seem to have this whole. If you release a proper full game, people then go, "Oh, I'd love to play a little bit more. Can you?" Instead of just saying, "Hey, can you go off and make a sequel?" They're just like, "I'm a bit impatient. I need a little bit something else to kind of keep me going for the next 6
One
months.
thing that was kind of like in vogue for just a little while was that you'd actually get something, but you get a demo disc. My PlayStation, when I got the original PlayStation, that came with the demo disc.
Yeah.
Rapper the Rapper, Twisted Metal, some JRPG, which I couldn't name now if you put a gun to my head.
Porsche Challenge. Porsche Challenge.
At the time, I thought that was really cool. Like, you didn't get a game, but just the fact that you could try out all these, just the fact that there was a disc that you could try out all these little games on, that blew my mind. You know, of course, then you got to the era where the game magazines would have all those demo discs on them. So it got, you know, and then finally just download the demo or the whole game if you want there. So then that was done. But for the time, I thought that was really cool. But in hindsight, I would have rather had just one actual disc of a game to have than a demo disc. Although I think now those demo discs are actually worth some money. So maybe I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't mind the demo disc because it was before we could download games and give them a test. And I think this is what's kind of come about. So just think about this for a minute, though. Then someone thought about, hey, what about if we make the whole game a demo and then you can pay for it if you want to keep playing the game. So it's basically like just a different selling technique because people aren't going to the thing is, in the old days, there was how many games would come out a year for each console? There'd be probably 20 games in total for every console. Now there's like I don't know, every day there's probably 1,000 games are released onto Steam.
I think that to be a very interesting quirk because that's not the first time you really had that problem. You had that problem in the early 80s with Atari. Like they were just pumping out games.
But how much were the games back then for Atari?
I wasn't around. I couldn't tell you. I could only assume that they normal price adjusted for inflation.
I thought they were like $5 a game or something. That's what I thought off. Like someone tell me, someone comment. They were like 5 or 10. I thought they were like really, really cheap because they were just throwing out.
By the time I was old enough to pick up a controller, the Super Nintendo was on the horizon, so I missed that party. But there was just like so many games that like even the mags at the time just couldn't keep up with them. That helped the crash because you just had an oversaturation and the consumer just felt so overwhelmed they didn't know what to play. Now, today, you have that alleviated because, take your game, for example, Light World. You know that when you drop that game, you're going to get at least a couple dozen people who will play and review that game. So, for any game that comes out today, they might not be the most reliable sources, but there'll be a couple sources you can filter through and make your own decision on, okay, is this game good? Is it not good? Should I buy it? Shouldn't I buy it? You couldn't do that back then. There was no internet. There was no user reviews back then. You were lucky if a magazine mentioned it a little, much less review it. So even though today it is a little overwhelming, all the games that just come out on a monthly basis, I think it's better regulated now. So it's not a huge deal to me, at least.
Yeah, no,
if a game's good enough, if a game's really good, if a game that has no advertising, no backing, no nothing is good enough, I'll hear about it.
Oh, I would think so too. But then I wonder if a game comes out for a good price. Like, for example, I think if you're going to play, do a multiplayer game or a co-op game, and we'll go and use Suicide Squad as an example. If that game was $25 instead of $100 a game, I feel like that would have hit a lot more people, and maybe a lot more people would have liked it. I feel like you've got to match the market with how much it sells the game for as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic example of wanting your cake and eating it too.
Yeah.
You know, you want that nice, sweet revenue coming in, that live service revenue, that dependable live service revenue. But live service revenue is a lot like nuclear fusion. You can't just make it happen. You gotta create that reaction and have it sustain itself. And one thing you shouldn't do is put a big paywall even before right behind that in the form of $70 to $100, whatever version of the game you gotta buy. And like you look at the top live service games around ever, I bet you they're mostly free to plays.
Yeah, I would say that, except for Minecraft. But then Minecraft's got a nice entry point.
Yeah, well, no, like Minecraft's different as a live service game to me. For one thing, it's just, well, even though there's multiplayer, Minecraft's definitely more solitary. You know what I mean? You can do stuff with other people, and you can do great stuff with other people, but it's still just you. Another thing, too, is, I don't really remember Minecraft, at least when it first came out, when it first was officially released. I'm not considering pre-beta. I remember when it first came out, it really wasn't as live service, as games today.
No, they added that in over the years, but I think that's a better way to build a game, though. It's to find a good game, build a good game, and then add that live service thing to the side of it.
Fortnite was similar to that too. People forget Fortnite didn't knock it out of the park right out of the gate.
No.
Like there was a good year after Fortnite came out where it was like all right, but it wasn't until like the Battle Royale stuff started happening then it really picked up.
I remember when Fortnite first came out. Now I've got to think back. Was it PS3 or PS4? It would have been 3, I think. Because it was they pumped the crap out of it on PS3, and they kind of basically almost pre-installed it on anyone that had. I think at the time you had this thing on the PlayStation Plus at the time where you could turn it on and they would download and update your games if you had PlayStation Plus. And I'm pretty sure if you'd had that turned on, they installed Fortnite for you, no charge. Just for being a good person, and everyone got stuck with a copy of Fortnite, and I played it for like 5 seconds and uninstalled it and never played it again till like about a couple of weeks ago. And hey, it's a whole lot of different game. It's
like they do the live service right, I mean, start humble, don't scare people with all this crazy crap that's coming in. And it's honestly, I think now people really need to look at Suicide Squad, and really like look at that as what not to do when it comes to live service games.
What about our favorite game, Power World?
What?
Power World, our favorite game.
You know this Power World stuff?
Yeah. Did you hear what happened in Power World? Just on another side note, we're going on a bit of a side tangent today. This is a side tangent show.
Power World, anything gaming, brother. That's what we do.
Yeah, that's anything. It's anything. We'll do anything. Power World released an update. Surprise, surprise. If you open the game and then allowed it to update your save data, it would corrupt all your save files.
Good update.
Great update. No,
I can't play my original. Actually, I forgot. We really can't shit on Power World too much. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. No, I mean, I didn't think.
I love Power World here.
Did I say a few weeks ago it was a shit game made by shit developers? I don't know if I did.
Talking about how Power World is not just an affront to reasonable video game playing, but an affront to humanity was the words we used.
Yeah.
If anyone in the comments want to clarify, feel free.
Yeah. Power World is just the word. Yeah, it's terrible. So I'm just gonna throw that out there. Anyway, let's go back to Nintendo.
When I shit on Power World, I'm not doing it as someone who didn't try Power World. All right, I tried Power World. I played that game for a damn good hour and a half.
And I would have returned it if I could on Steam.
I know, yeah.
And then I would have bought it again and returned it again. Can you multi-return?
This is why they get rid of physical copies, so you can't take the game and just chuck it on the lawn anymore.
I would have done it in less than 2 hours. Can you buy a game twice on Steam and return it? I don't know if that's the thing. back to Nintendo. What DLC did you like from back then? Because that would have been almost around the time that Nintendo did their first DLC. I would say that the Wii U store was probably their first online store, and I would say probably 3DS as well.
It did have some DLC for some of its games, but it was different. I can't explain it. The only DLC I ever really remember getting for any Wii game was the ability to play as Proto Man and Bass in Mega Man 10. That was it. That's the only that off the top of my head. There's probably more DLC I got, but that's all I can remember. Plus, Guitar Hero and Rock Band were around in the day of Wii, so that's I never got it for that, but that was also DLC. But Wii U definitely promised DLC. In fact, the first DLC I remember getting was for New Super Mario Brothers U. Yeah. Where when you download it, now it's New Super Luigi U. And at first I thought it was just you get to play as Luigi and that was it, but it was a complete whole new game, like new levels. Shorter levels, but still new levels.
I never played that, so I only played it just recently when I started on the
Switch. The Switch version has both. It's got the Mario and Luigi stuff to it. Here, hold on. Okay, Mario Kart 8, the original Mario Kart 8 for the Wii U, that had DLC for it. The new tracks.
Has it still got all that DLC? I think that all that DLC was...
The Deluxe ended up getting even more DLC.
Yeah, and then it got more again. That's what I was going to say, yeah. So then we'll get Mario Kart 8 on the Switch 2 with the Deluxe.
Smash Brothers Wii U had DLC for it. I forget if it had DLC characters, but it definitely had DLC costumes, like different stuff you could wear.
Yeah.
As far as characters, though, I think Ultimate was really the first one I could think of that had a lot of DLC characters.
I didn't play Switch. What about how did the 3DS go with DLC? Because that would have been their first DLC store on the 3DS.
Did I get anything?
Oh my goodness!
Sorry, viewers. I gotta remember what I got here. I'm looking at all my games, and with the exception of Pokemon games I got, I don't think really anything had like a lot of DLC going for it. Although games did have DLC for the 3DS. I don't know if I would consider it DLC, but I remember Street Pass having a whole lot of new stuff you could always download.
Why was Street Pass so popular?
I don't know. Like seriously, me and my friend, and we were men when we were like in our early mid-30s when this stuff came out.
It has a special place in everyone's heart. Like
we had jobs and shit, and we would just drive around. We gotta go to McDonald's. We gotta go here. We gotta go here. It was kind of a precursor to Pokemon Go, really.
Yeah, like, do you want to explain what Street Pass is to people that don't understand what Street Pass is?
All right, so here's what a Street Pass is. You get the ability to do more things, get more stuff for your character, level up, really, with the more people that your system interacts with. And all they gotta do is just interact with it. As soon as they pick up another DS, boom, they get the avatar. My favorite version of anything Street Pass was actually in Link Between Worlds. This actually helped you. So what would happen is, you would meet up, you just walk by a guy, and he has Link Between Worlds save date on him, and for that, you create a link that has, whatever hearts you have at that moment, what items you have, and all that. Completely gives them the Shadow Link overlay, and then on your console, you fight that person. If you lose, nothing happens. You don't lose your weapons, you don't lose anything. But if you win, you actually get some rupees. And depending on what level the guy was that you beat, you get more rupees. Now, you really need cash a lot in Link Between Worlds, more so than a lot of other Zeldas I played. So that was great. I love that. The first time I ever played through Link Between Worlds, I was doing that a lot. And I was able to breeze right through it.
So, and if anyone doesn't know, Street Pass worked off Bluetooth, I think. So it only was very local to you. So if you were walking down the street, you wouldn't pick up everyone in the neighborhood. You'd only pick the people up within 2 or 3 meters.
I know there were places like aforementioned McDonald's where they would have kiosks where I guess everyone's Street Pass would go on there. So if you went to that Street Pass, then you pick up all that stuff. I had the most fun with it with Link Between Worlds. I wish I could. If I knew I would talk this, I would talk to my boy Eric about it because he went deep into Street Pass. He had a lot of Street Pass games.
Because okay, so now I'll tell you where I first came into Street, because I've never had a 3DS, and I didn't find out about Street Pass until PAX last year, where the guy that's making music for my game is mad into Street Pass, brings his 3DS to PAX, where there's a lot of gamers, and collects like 100 Street Passes. So people are walking around at conventions now with a 10-year-old console just to share Street Passes because they could. Like, it was crazy. Like 10 years later, people are still sharing these Street Passes, and I'm like, I don't even understand what's happening here. This is
the Switch never tried anything like
Street
that.
It kind of almost gets into like privacy issues and stuff like that.
True, and Nintendo has always been very antsy about their privacy.
Yeah. So it's
I can't
probably
blame them in a way. It's
worried
still
about
annoying.
you. Someone would work out a way that they could use another device to hack into Nintendo's when they walk past them. Like, it's guaranteed that someone would work that out if they had all these devices talking to each other, and Nintendo's like, oh, let's just take that away before it gets broken. That's the last little thing we need to break our company. So yeah,
I kind of wish I would now I want to play Link Between Worlds again.
go and
Just
walk
but it's
around,
cool too, 'cause-
go and see if you can get a Street Pass. I want to see if you can collect a Street Pass into 10 years later with the
Yeah.
Take
And
it
like
in, take it into
Nintendo
work,
does it.
leave it under the counter, see how many Street Passes you get.
I think it's a great. I don't see why Switch doesn't do something similar to it.
Yeah.
You know, it was cute. Like some things the 3DS did that I could see. Not one thing I think that was really cool that the 3DS did was augmented reality.
Oh, where you slid the slider.
Yeah, well, here's the problem. I don't know if anyone's watching this has noticed yet, but this eye right here, eye is like 80% dead. Very blurry. I can't see too much of that. Because of that, my depth perception is.
No,
Man, I sure hope the people that issued my driver's license ain't listening to this. But my depth perception could be a lot better. I'll just say that.
Okay, so I don't want to drive over in that part of the world.
Hey, I haven't got into an accident yet.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, but let's bring back some Street Passes and do some things. I'd like to see you take it into work for a full week, see how many Street Passes you get between now and next week.
I think I would have to turn it on. I think I turned off the Wi-Fi, like everything off my 3D. See, that's what, going back to what we were talking about, that's always the depressing thing. I did that with my PlayStation 3 a while back where I just went in the options, turned off online, and I do not expect to turn it on ever again. Because why?
Well, there is a whole, okay, if Nintendo's listening to this, please turn off right now. There is a whole online, like basically a store of Nintendo, so you can go and download every single Nintendo game and DLC that is available to you. You have to like do a few things and change your Nintendo settings to be able to do this, but Nintendo hasn't blocked it, so I assume that that's their way of letting the community survive, because they know that no one except for hardcore fans are going to go and find things like that.
I have a modded Wii. I got a Wii that has all the Nintendo, Super Nintendo. Technically, it's got a bunch of Genesis games, but they barely work. So I tried to record Ghostbusters off and it didn't work.
Yeah, so I think if you're hardcore into the older games, sometimes that's the only way you can actually play a lot of them, is to find them not the most legal of ways. But that's not gamers' fault. It's more, this is what happens when these stores close down, that all of a sudden we were able to buy stuff that we wanted. You took it away from us, and then we're like, well, I've still got a copy. I'll put it over here, and you can come and get it for free if you like. You know,
I had to use my emulator because I was streaming Fester's Quest. I wanted to play it, but my NES cartridge just wasn't working.
Yeah.
It wasn't the system. I tried a whole bunch of other games. Just that cart wasn't working.
Did you blow on it?
I'm not gonna sweat the legality of a 1988 Sunsoft game. So I just emulated it.
Well, it's not illegal to emulate a game if you own it.
Right, and I got the cartridge.
Yeah. So
I got cartridge for almost. The only thing I really will emulate usually is imports, the Japanese versions of games, the Europeans versions of games, anything that might be different on that end. I'll play. Of course, any decent emulator will have a bunch of ROM hacks in there, which I always like to try out just to see how usually they suck, but there are a couple of really good ones out there, like Mario 3 Mix.
Yeah, fair enough. Oh well. I feel like it'll be only another few years, and we'll be talking about how they're shutting down the PlayStation 4 store and the.
Oh
yeah, and then they'll
castles made of sand crumble into the sea eventually.
Well, and that's where I keep on going with it. Xbox doesn't seem to do this. They've kind of just rolling stuff into the next generation. They seem to be
they're really good at that. You are right. They are really good at preserving generations, but they really sucked at it the first one. When you went from OG Xbox to 360, they were done with OG Xbox. Like, it did not get no games, no support, nothing.
That's where I think they learnt that big time, because they got a whole heap of hate from that. And so now they've just built, I think it's almost like a Windows kind of program in the background that runs the Xbox. I feel like that's what it is.
If you're a console gamer and you want stability and consistency, honestly, if you're thinking of the future, like as an investment, really, Xbox makes a very good argument for that. Because I know that a lot the Xbox One's games, the Xbox Series games, even some of the 360 games I got, they will have a home the next console round.
Yeah.
I can't say that for my Sony and Nintendo games.
I don't think so either.
Yes.
On a side note, did you find it really weird that I don't know if this is in your country or just my country, or I don't know whereabouts in the world, but if you go and buy a Game Pass, like those cards you buy from the supermarket or whatever, they don't have Xbox on them no more. They've got Microsoft across the top of them.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because, I've noticed that sometimes they'll change the wording or the other stuff. Nintendo did that a while back too, when they were getting away from, admittedly, the 3DS and the Wii U, and now you're buying Switch points there.
Yeah.
I haven't noticed that, but it wouldn't surprise me because Microsoft is really trying to make a symbiotic kind of like relationship between Game Pass and all that stuff with your Xbox, and also on your PC. I've been playing through Halo Reach on my PC, mind you, just my computer, but like when I go on my Xbox, it treats it like Halo was the last game I just played. Even though I played it on the PC, not the Xbox.
Yeah, so obviously you didn't buy Halo Reach through Steam. You're playing it on the Xbox console.
I did. I didn't get through Steam, but I got the collection, the Halo collection. It's on Game Pass, so.
Yeah, it's on Game Pass. So that means you're playing not in Steam. You're playing on the Xbox Virtual Console that's on your PC.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So then they treat that like that's your second Xbox in the house. If you you had multiple Xboxes.
It kind of sucks, guys. Okay, so I got my Series, Analog Kids on that. Then I got my PC, which is the thing. Then I also got my brother's Xbox Series, which is in my living room, which my name's on there too. Then I also got my Xbox One, which also has Analog Kid on it. Then I also got my 360 that's in my closet, which also has that information on it. So that's a lot of Xboxes that I'm contributing to here.
Yeah, well, yeah, I feel like it's you don't know which room of the house you're going to be playing in, so it's important to have multiple consoles.
If I could.
Does your Xbox One still cloud game new games?
Yes. I don't have my Xbox One hooked up at the moment because I really don't need it.
Yeah.
But yes, it does. Not only does it do that, but if I were to let's just say if I were to play Gears of War on my Series X, get through it, and then I decide to play it on the Xbox One, it saves to the cloud, so it just continue on right through that.
That's fantastic how they've done that. Oh my,
Yeah.
so we've turned they turned the show around from Nintendo hate to Xbox love and a bit of so on the PlayStation.
Yeah, I'm starting to change my opinion on cloud gaming. Not necessarily cloud gaming. I wouldn't play a game off the cloud. I'd rather at least install all of my stuff. But I do I've already had to rely on cloud saves to recover a lot of my stuff.
I love cloud. I love cloud saves.
When I rebooted my computer, if I didn't have cloud, jeez, I was like 70% through Shadow Warrior. I would have had to start all that over again.
Well, maybe that's a topic for another show. We'll get onto the pitfalls of cloud gaming.
Too, because my opinion's really softening on it. I'm accepting it more. Talk to me about 5 years ago. Oh, no. But I try. If something's there to change my opinion on something, I'll change it. I try not to be just close, yelling at clouds.
Next week.
Give me evidence.
Woody loves Power World.
I gotta check out this update you were talking about. Maybe it finally makes the game playable.
They do.
In case you didn't hear me, everybody, it makes the game playable.
All right, let's go and talk again next week. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.